You've probably spent a few evenings scrolling through endless speaker bundles, wondering which one will actually sit nicely on your shelves, fill the room with sound that feels real, and still leave you with a few dollars in the bank. The fear of splurging on a system that looks amazing on paper but ends up sounding flat, or worse, taking forever to set up, is what keeps most of us hitting the close tab button. I get that. I've been there, comparing brand names, counting tweeter diameters, and trying to imagine whether a subwoofer will actually shake the couch or just make a polite rumble. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, just a heads up, link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Klipsch reference our 625FA 5.1 home theater pack is marketed as a plug-and-play solution for anyone who wants Dolby Atmos without the headache of hunting down separate components. What that really means in a typical living room is you get two upward-firing our 625FA speakers that bounce sound off the ceiling, two R41M bookshelf speakers for the sidewalls, a dedicated R52C center channel, and the 100SW 10-inch powered subwoofer. On paper that sounds like a full-blown theater, but the question is how it behaves when you're actually trying to watch a movie on a Friday night, or when you just want to blast a playlist while cooking. First, let's talk about setup. The whole bundle arrives boxed in a way that makes sense. The two Atmos speakers are pre-wired, the bookshelf pair is already matched, and the subwoofer is a self-powered unit that only needs a single power cable and a line-in. I've seen people struggle with complicated wiring diagrams, especially when trying to integrate a sub with an existing AV receiver. With this kit you basically plug the speakers into your receiver's front left/right, center, and surround outputs, and the sub into the dedicated sub pre-out. The magnetic grille on each speaker is removable, which is handy if you ever need to clean dust that settles on the tweeter horns, a small thing that makes daily maintenance less of a chore. Now, what does it actually sound like in the day-to-day? The first thing you notice is the clarity of the highs. The 1-inch aluminum LTS tweeters paired with Tractrix horn loading give the front speakers a crispness that lets you hear the subtle rustle of leaves in a nature documentary without it sounding harsh. The Atmos capability shines when you sit near the center of the room. Rain sounds truly feel like they're falling from above, and a helicopter overhead in an action film feels three-dimensional. The sidewall bookshelf speakers, while smaller, do a respectable job of widening the soundstage, making a TV show's dialogue feel anchored but not boxed in. The bass, driven by the 100SW 10-inch sub, is where the system shows both its strength and its limitation. When you crank up the low end on an explosion scene, the sub delivers a solid thump that you can feel through the floor, thanks to its spun copper IMG woofer that's both rigid and lightweight. However, the sub's power is 300 watts RMS, and while that is more than enough for a typical 2,000 square foot living space, in a larger home theater or a basement with high ceilings you might notice it struggling to keep the deepest notes tight. In practical terms, you'll get impressive impact for movies and decent punch for music, but you won't be replacing a dedicated, high-end sub that can sustain a bass line for an hour-long EDM set without a little distortion creeping in. Who should consider buying this package? If you're a first-time home theater builder who wants a fairly complete 5.1 system without hunting for separate components, this is a solid entry point. The fact that the speakers are all from the same reference line means they share a tonal signature, which helps keep the front left, front right, and center channels cohesive. It's also a good fit for renters or people who don't want to commit to wall-mounting massive floor-standing speakers. The bookshelf size keeps everything portable enough to move if you need to. On the flip side, if you already own a high-end AV receiver with sophisticated room calibration software and you're looking for audiophile-grade speakers that can be upgraded individually, you might skip this pack. The upward-firing design is great for rooms with a decent amount of ceiling height, around 8 feet or more. In a low-ceiling apartment the Atmos effect can become muddied because the sound reflects off the ceiling too quickly. One practical trade-off that isn't advertised in the spec sheet is the visual integration. The black textured wood-grain vinyl finish looks modern and blends with most core, but the grille is fairly prominent. Some users love the industrial vibe, while others find it a bit heavy for a minimalist aesthetic. Because the grille is magnetic, you can remove it for a cleaner look, but you'll lose the protective layer that keeps the tweeter safe from accidental bumps, something to think about if you have kids or pets that like to climb on furniture. Another hidden consideration is the receiver compatibility. The system assumes you have an AV receiver that can handle Dolby Atmos.